All right, let's go ahead and get into it. The Cincinnati Bengals. A lot to love here. Obviously, they have Joe Thorough, arguably the second best quarterback in football. Some say he's the best. You got to put some rings on your fingers before you say you're the best for a lot of people, but he's definitely in the conversation as one of the best quarterbacks in football. To me, they have no doubt the best receiving core in football with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. A lot to love here. But I think the number one concern has to be the Bengals' slow starts under Zach Taylor and their inability to do that this year if they're trying to make the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. So there's some other concerns. Now, Joe Mixon, is he washed? You lose P. Ryan, who was a great third down back. Can Joe Mixon find his form? Can the offensive line gel? They're bringing Orlando Brown. Jonah Williams is very unhappy with his switch from left to right, but you haven't been the greatest tackle, so does it matter? Lyle Collins is at the right, but he was injured last year. So can this offensive line finally gel? And both of their safeties have gone. Von Bell, as well as Jesse Bates, moved on. This is a defense under Lou Amarillo that likes to use their safeties in high pressure situations. So we'll see what happens there. And their pass rush wasn't as good this previous season as it was a year ago, and particularly Henderson, who had a monster year. And then last year, I think only had 6 sacks. But we go back to their slow starts. Under Zach Taylor, they have been traditionally a very slow starting team. 2-5-1 his first season, 5-3 his second season, and 4-4 his third season in 8 games. Now, they made it to the playoffs the previous 2 years. So you might say, hey, the slow starts, what does it matter? But I think now they play in unequivocally the best division in football with the Ravens, who have reloaded at receiver and have Lamar Jackson, the Browns, who have Deshaun Watson, who played terribly last year, but I think with his suspension, his time away from football the season before as well, I think the rest was to be expected. I expect him to have a great year this season, and their team is very loaded. Then you have the Steelers with a young quarterback who's ascending, a young receiver in Pickens who's ascending, a great defense, and arguably the best coach in football. And then if you look at the conference as a whole, I think the only team and the two teams in the AFC that you can really take away from the playoff picture right now are the Raiders and the Colts. I think everyone else has an opportunity to make the playoffs. So this is going to be a rock'em sock'em robot type division and conference. So starting slow is not going to be an option that I think is going to be available to them. Add in the fact that Joe Burrow is injured with a calf injury. Now, most people are expecting him to be ready for week 1, but you need these training camp reps. I mean, especially if you're trying to start faster. Joe Burrow doesn't usually play in the preseason games, but the practice reps do help. So I think that is definitely the biggest question facing the Bengals this season. Can they start faster? And they're going to have to if they want to put some rings on their fingers and become Super Bowl champions. All right, let me know what you think. Leave me a comment, subscribe, and as always, the game is the game.